Okay, guys, hello. We're back in the Lee & Associates office. I know you guys saw our most recent video with Anna from Youth Champions. That one was great. We also still have the Jeff Gold one that is up there. We hope you guys go back there and rewatch that. But I know you guys have heard me talk about this for the past two interviews, that we're planning on bringing someone very special pretty soon. This is that person that I kept talking about. This is the individual that I mentioned in the most recent one with Anna that we said we were going to have something set up for the next day with an impactful individual in Los Angeles, Jack Cline. So I've known Jack Cline now for a couple of years now through Youth Champions, which is where Anna comes from as well. Jack Cline is a specialist in his area, and what we mean is commercial real estate. Currently with Lee & Associates corporate-wide at the Los Angeles office. Jack Cline has a long history with Lee & Associates, being there with like the founding days as well, having a really big impact in the past, opening up, co-founding the Commerce office, being a part of that, and then now co-founding the new Lee & Associates office minutes away from downtown Los Angeles. And again, this is Eddie, and we have Jimmy with us. And I'll just go ahead and throw it straight at you. Give me a quick rundown of who you are, just, quick background. We know you went to UCLA. If you could speak on that, a little bit quick intro of yourself and what you do right now with Lee & Associates, that would be great.
Sure. Starting at the beginning, up to fourth grade, I lived in El Monte. We went to Arcadia High School. Went down to UC San Diego for 2 years because I wanted to get away from Los Angeles. Then again, I came and transferred back into UCLA because I wanted to make a living, and Los Angeles was an economic center. So at UCLA, I was part of a fraternity, a great group of guys. In fact, we're meeting later this summer. And just had a wonderful experience. Kind of learned there's only a few key people in my life at each stage of my life that I'll always remember. There was a particular professor there, took every class that he offered. It was in economics. I was an economics major, which means you come out of school without any real skills that you can apply other than what do you want to do. I worked for a law firm as a runner when I was going to UCLA. The first year associates were smarter and they could work just as hard as I could. I then later did an internship over at a company that's now no longer existing, but Grubb & Ellis in Beverly Hills office. And I found that the agents there, I was at least as smart, and they didn't work so hard. So I figured, hey, commercial real estate, I could go out and make a decent living and have a nice life. So that's what I did. And I started with a small company called Hager Realty Corporation, a boutique industrial real estate broker, also based in Commerce. We then opened the Lee & Associates, and I do want to give a shout out to Jack Hager, who's since deceased, but a terrific mentor. I mean, just a very, very special Renaissance man, brilliant man, and really gave me the foundation and skill set to be successful in this business. Then we opened, myself and two other partners, we opened the Lee & Associates Commerce office. It was not like this. It was starting from scratch, bare walls, had to build it out, and hit the ground running. A number of agents wanted to join us because we'd been in the market, we had a good reputation, and the Lee & Associates platform is, for an entrepreneurial broker, there's no better platform. After, I think it's 22 years in the Commerce office, we were doing more and more business in the city of LA, downtown LA, saw the evolution and change of use of our industrial buildings that were now being sold to multi-tenant, multifamily developers, experiential uses, creative uses, and we thought we'd plant our flag in this particular market.
One of the things that you just said that really stood out to me was sort of the creative use thing. So I know that there's been a really large pump in real estate, especially commercial real estate recently. I remember reading about this year specifically, $63 billion already has been spent just in multifamily development. And I'm going around LA and I'm seeing honestly these badass developments that are happening with a lot of multifamily, and they're making it just a really cool space. I mean, next door, the Llewellyn, it's a great space. It's brand new, just developed. I think it was just recently opened up not too long ago, right?
Yeah, it opened up about 18 months ago. It was at 90% occupancy after 12 months. It's what would be considered full occupancy now. A very successful project for Trammell Crow, and a great space. And all the things that they're talking about in terms of multifamily development, particularly during COVID, it's, hey, spaces have to be larger. So they had already anticipated that, or they inherited the rights to do that, the entitlement to do that, and so that's what that is. It's a lot of two-bedroom apartments. They put co-working in there, so you have a space that's kind of like a WeWorks inside the apartment building. Wonderful amenities, gym, pool, all that good stuff. So they really did the right combination, and that's what really drove its success, I believe.
Well, I mean, speaking on that, like just moving away from the Llewellyn itself, like you being a specialist, you know, we were talking about like over 20 years at the Commerce office, which I'm really grateful that I got to be there because I feel like I got that hands-on experience with sort of like a really brick and mortar location. The Commerce office was very hands-on. I heard a lot of the other agents, including yourself and other people, on the phone literally all day with clients and making sure that clients know that they're heard and that their needs are being satisfied. And I think that things are becoming really niche now when it comes to like those type of services. I think that the hands-on service is still really important, but I think that a lot of people are now starting to move to like technology-based situations where sometimes communication isn't even a factor anymore. But like moving away from that, talking about more so that specifically, like technology, I feel like, and advancements. So I feel like in Los Angeles, a lot of like development is going on. And as you as a specialist, I'm sure you see it, like Produce LA and the new 6th Street Bridge. These are all like, you look at it and you just, I think the first word that comes to mind is, this is cool. Like it looks cool. It looks really cool. A lot of like the architecture that they're doing now is completely different than architecture that was like 20 years ago. I think that the very standard buildings 20 years ago was just square, very straightforward, cubicles, very separated. And now there's things where people are bringing like bean bags in offices because it creates creativity in someone's mind. So how do you see those sort of advancements, you know, impacting commercial real estate?
Absolutely. So I think, again, probably the biggest advancement, it's almost a catchphrase, is experiential. And whether it's the experience of the box in an Amazon warehouse or it's the experience of the employee to come back to the office, why does somebody come back to the office? The office and the environment has to add value to the individual. So much more of our folks that come in our office come in because they get value from it. In the brokerage business, value, information is part of that value. The exchange of information that hasn't been formalized in terms of a database, that's real value for our clients and the brokers that occupy this space.
Okay, so speaking more so on that fact, one of the things that you mentioned was, again, like value. So on the office space specifically, us right now, we're in an office. This office just recently got developed. I mean, it's beautiful. 1201 North Main, Lean Associates, Los Angeles office.
Come on
down. It's a beautiful office. I mean, we have a golf simulator next door, which again, that talks about like sort of, you know, people coming down in the office. People come down to their office, I think, because they're excited about it. And I think that one of the things that happened with this COVID-19 situation was that became sort of a controversy where people were thinking, you know, there's no need to be in person in an office. It's all about remote. I personally, I like the tangible in-person experience. If I'm meeting with a client, I want to meet you face to face because I feel like that's how you'll understand who I am. And I think that honestly, you know, it was becoming a thing where people were saying the office space is dead, it's dying. I personally feel like that might not be the situation. Demand might have, you know, stabilized, but I think that people are still really interested in office spaces. And I mean, me and Jimmy drive around LA whenever we're doing content and stuff like that, and we see the development still ongoing. Like Produce LA that was just recently done right next to the 6th Street Bridge, multi-million-dollar investment property that's going on right now, and I think it just got recently leased, right, to a tenant. You know, sort of seeing that development still ongoing, but then there's still the opposition of people saying, you know, the office space is dead, it's no longer necessary, we can just all do Zoom. What do you see the value in, like, the difference between an online version in comparison to an in-person version?
Well, certainly the function of each and every task as part of a job is important to understand. And so we're getting a little bit more segmented in what positions are better suited for the office and why congregate. I think the idea of congregation coming together it's harder to build trust over a Zoom call. And I think that one-on-one trust, which I think largely in many ways was broken during COVID-19. A lot of trust, you know, all kinds of stories about everybody on every side. So now seeing somebody, meeting somebody, shaking their hand, face to face, you need that to actually link the trust. Link the trust, expect integrity, the same behavior that you believe the person is doing. I think that's why we need to be together. And then the congregation, folks coming together, particularly folks that might have different ideas, different information, that connection only in that circle of trust that's built by face-to-face is easily exchanged. It's much more difficult to exchange when it comes to an email. If you have a stream of consciousness exchange, it's not going to happen on an email. I have to have the intent to make the exchange. But in a conversation, and that's why that's why we put the golf simulator. Bring guys in, have people come in and just have something to talk about, something to do. We have a big common area kitchen. Why? So the guys can come in and just congregate. We're looking at this as much of an event space as office space, and that again, bring it in hand to hand. Let's see who you are, and let's, in our case, make deals, satisfy clients' requirements, and actually make sure everybody has the best amount of information, because there's only so much you can put in a database. That element that's extra, that's where both deals are made and client value is added extra.
So before I give it over to Jimmy to ask some questions, I think I want to ask one quick question. So recently you saw that the GDP basis point 75. So I feel like that's raising a lot of questions within people, because people are confused. I think a lot of people in business and people that are more so on a capitalistic side are confused about the fact, like, do you want our economy to crash, or what's going on? Because I feel like 75%, a 75 basis point raise is, I understand from the side where, we're trying to calm down current inflation rates, and that all makes perfect sense. But I feel like in a contrary, which a lot of people that I've been seeing, a lot of connections of mine that I've talked to, people are confused, I feel, about what's going on with, sort of that increase in basis points. It's more so about a point where, you're currently stopping the economy for a period, but it's more so of a long-term success? Or do you see it as something where, that stop is going to hurt business or impact the industry? Because a lot of articles that I've been reading have been talking about how this basis increase is going to destroy real estate and mortgage rates, and it's going to destroy that long-term period because people are going to be scared. But I don't know. I mean, looking at the first quarter reports of like commercial real estate in the industry itself, $63 billion in multifamily. So I feel like investors and people in business are still fearless about what's going on. But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that.
Certainly. Well, I'm one of the few old guys that actually got into the business in 1983, and so that was when, just following the Jimmy Carter administration, where inflation was out of control, Paul Volcker came in and started putting the brakes on in a much more harsh way than we are right now. Historically, our interest rates are still very low. I think it's the how steep that curve of increase is that will lower the curve. I think the bigger concern is certainly inflation. When you're making a capital decision, certainly interest rates matter. But when you're making a capital decision that's going to provide some good services for a consumer economy, when that consumer, their basket of goods now shifts from, I've got to buy energy, I've got to buy the gas, right? All of a sudden, I'm going to spend more money on that than I would maybe on groceries. At certain levels, people make those decisions. Maybe than on rent. Maybe that's good for multifamily because now the commute concept, it's a lot more expensive to commute. It's going to cost me $100 to fill up my economy car. These make people change their behaviors. But I think the interest rate impact, it will absolutely have an impact in the short run. I think that from a long run perspective, it's extraordinarily low. It was probably too low. And remember, we have the largest transfer of wealth occurring right now. We have a baby boomer generation, which is me. And we were savers, and we had we saved money. We had, hey, this is our future. And to a now the group that's now starting to be professional running businesses, they didn't have the same perspective, and yet they're the beneficiaries of this transfer of cash. So, and again, the world is awash in cash. Every major economy printed a bunch of money during COVID. That money is still out there. That's what the Fed is trying to do. They're trying to soak up some of that money because in COVID, the velocity of money slowed way down. People did not take the same dollar and expend it 9 times. How fast that money is moving around the economy. They put a bunch of money in to try to keep it moving. Now that velocity of money is turning, and that's one of the keys to our inflation right now. That and our energy costs.
Just to link back, like how you're a specialist in the commercial real estate, I wanted to get your take on like what you think like real estate's gonna get into in the future. Because like right now, a bunch of creative spaces are being developed, but what does that mean for like industrial sites? Because like industrial areas, they're like the backbone of society. They help support food, produce, supplies, and all that stuff. So like, what is like your take on that, and what's gonna happen to industrial areas?
What I think the beauty of an industrial building, I always called it the Swiss Army knife of real estate, right? You can use, and they're doing it right now. You can use a industrial building, low profile, cool, make a creative office. Okay, that's really cool. Now we've got a different use. Okay, we take an industrial piece of land, and then like this building is an industrial building. That's a creative office conversion. You take an industrial piece of land, which is Llewellyn was on. Okay, let's tear it down and let's use it for something else, which is a multifamily development. One of the big movers in the last 18 months is the idea of industrial property conversion into studio space for streamers. Now that you can film an entire production within a 30,000 square foot, 30-foot clear building using AV, boom, there's all kinds of developments inline and online that are using what are industrial buildings for these other purposes. And we're not even talking about logistics and e-commerce, which again has another application that we never had. In '83, we didn't know what e-commerce was, right? That was even before the dot-com of 2000. I mean, this is a whole new world. That's what makes it exciting and interesting. And that's one of the drivers here. We're looking to have multidisciplinary real estate in this office, which is a little different than most of our Lee & Associates offices.
I mean, honestly, what you were just talking about, that was a great question that you brought up, because it's public information. If you're a Los Angeles native and you're interested in real estate, you know about the East End Capital acquisition of 6 and Alameda, $230 million, and I believe when SunCal bought it a couple of years back, almost a decade back, right? People thought they were crazy for that, and as of right now, they just made over $100 million on this acquisition on East End side in a decade. So I'm pretty sure the payoff was amazing, but their plans, this is all public records. East End Capital has stated that their plans is a 2-year lease period, and then at the end they're going to do a development with what you just said, film studios. And this is a huge lot of land, and they're just going to make these film studios. And right now, these are all industrial properties. There's people in their cold storage units, people that are doing distribution, and they're making millions of dollars, and the property itself makes millions of dollars yearly. But why do you think that East End Capital came in with this vision of, this industrial stuff, we're going to switch it over to something completely different, which film?
Well, we know East End Capital well, not only involved in that deal as helping them with their covered land play. We sold them another large site in Glendale doing this very similar thing. Underneath the 6th Street Bridge that you mentioned, the 6th Street Viaduct, we sold them what was a freezer building on a just about 5-acre site. They're building 276,000 square feet of studio and office. All of these things is because the operators there understand the demand. And during COVID, there was 3 years of film that was greenlit that didn't have a place or the capability to go. And boom, everybody's spending time watching all the streamers and more entries, and content is king in that. And they make that content on our industrial sites. So that's, and there's a number of players that are in that market and have done well. There's always a concern of overbuild, but I think that as we get more creative, but as the streaming services get more creative, we got the greatest creative talent for the folks that operate and do and create that in this market than anywhere else in the world. So this is a dominant force that we here in Los Angeles are able to participate in.
That was great. That was a whole great conversation. Really excited we got that conversation done. Jimmy, do you have any final questions?
No.
Okay, great.
Hey, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Again, this was Jack Cline. We are at the Lee & Associates office. We hope you guys stay tuned in. We just posted the Ana Cortez interview. The Jeff Gold one is still up. Go and listen to Jeff Gold talk about a piece of art of one of the insides of his store that recently got sold for $3 million. 99-cent only stores. And, we're really excited to keep this going. We're hoping to bring back more guests soon. Like and subscribe, and we'll keep up with you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.